which is one of the things the Beatles have too, which is, I think, a good place to segue. Imagine is a simple and straightforward song, based on a simple two chord vamp, 1 to 4, with a little walk up in it, in between, right? And but it's it was revolutionary in many ways too, not because of the lyrical content necessarily, though there is that too. But this is also the song, or one of the songs, that launched John Lennon into the. I mean, he was already, one of the biggest stars on earth, but moved him into the more social commentary world, as opposed to just a kid musician from Liverpool too. And people forget that when the Beatles broke up, he still wasn't even 30 years old. So, like, they were very young still. Um, and so this is kind of like his second, or the beginning of his second act. And this was, if I'm remembering correctly, the first one he released after the Beatles broke up too.
It's like
Um,
71,
yeah,
72.
70 or 71. Yeah. It was really funny. I mean, not to get too much into Beatles history as opposed to comparing the two songs, but I know Lennon did, and I know George Harrison did, released albums the same year the Beatles broke up. John Lennon was actually, I think, Instant Karma came out, like the song Instant Karma came out in 1969. Some of them came out like before the Beatles officially broke up, too. There's a lot of crossover in that time, like 69, 70, 71 kind of era. But this song is probably one. I said this, I think, before in the episode, but just in case, like, it's certainly one of the most important songs, um, and most iconic songs in modern music history, of any genre, of any style, of any whatever. It's one of the very, very top of the list songs.
First of all, I didn't know that they broke up before they were like 30.
I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm gonna check while you're talking, but if they were more than 30, it was just barely.
That
Um,
gives more credence to like Bill Maher's sentiment. Have you ever heard Bill Maher's sentiment? I think I sent you the clip about how he was saying they broke up because Lennon was losing the song battle to McCartney. Like,
yeah, you've said that he was born. They were born in 1940, so yeah, he was born in
it's
October of 1940. So yeah, he was
oh,
29 when they broke
please
up.
again. Okay. So yeah, that gives more credence to him losing the song thing because that's an ego thing around
Hmm.
that age.
Yeah.
Your ego's very, very strong around that age. I think what John Lennon really did with this record, in my estimation, is he spoke for the people and to the people at once.
Hmm.
And when an artist of his already very, very high level stardom and stature does something like that,
Hmm.
it does kind of next level the artist and next level the song. I think this is one of those songs that truly is at the right time in the right place and speaking to the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is very good. That the song is speaking for himself, like his personal wish for the world, but he's also putting words to what a lot of people are feeling as well,
Right. And
and it
that's,
connects on lots of different levels like that.
well, I've told you, like a great artist knows how to bring you into their world
Hmm.
and you enjoy it. But what if your worlds are the same? It takes on a
Yeah.
whole nother life and shape. And
Yeah.
so the stuff that he's saying in this record, well, it's not his world, it's our world.
Right.
I know a lot of people around that time when you're like reading this out, just and listening to it, it's like, no, it's speaking to the people for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the baby boomers who have grown up.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
they've grown
he's
up.
he's yeah, this is his adult, or one of his adult records, right? I mean, because
Right.
people forget that the Beatles were a boy band. Like, they were one of the original boy
Right.
bands.
I mean, they're
And
kind of
they
like
were, and just because they were incredibly talented
they're a hip
songwriters,
band.
they
Yeah.
were they were a boy band, and they were, um girls screaming, kind of NSYNC Backstreet Boys that kind of screaming for them. Like
Yeah.
there's a famous story about them playing. They decided eventually, they decided in like 1966, I think, to stop playing live anymore because they played at Shea Stadium in New York and they couldn't hear each other on the stage because the people were screaming so loud in the stadium. Like he couldn't hear the people staying right next to him on the stage. And he's like, we can't do this anymore, which is when they started doing Sergeant Pepper and all of the high tech studio stuff. That's a sidebar. But the point is that they were a boy band. And so this is his, or one of those coming of age records, kind of like Thriller was for Michael Jackson coming from the Jackson Five. It works that way, right? Is that kind of
This is very this is I was actually thinking this is his Rock With You.
yeah.
It's where you're seeing the grown up John Lennon for the first time. It's kind of like Rock With You. It's like, oh, Michael's grown up. It's like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Imagine is that for the young teenage girl that started listening to him at 16. It's now 27, and it's like, you know, and it's about to get married and have kids and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
People my mother's age, yeah.
Yes, and have grown up. Listen, hearing stories about World War II and watching the Korean War and the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he's obviously releasing this song at the height of the Vietnam War too.
Correct. So that's what I mean about it. Like, well, it connects a lot of dots because it's like he's very. I like the boy band comparison. I think people often forget that. I forget that often too because I'm more into their album work that happened when they stopped doing live shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I forget the whole boy band fandom. I just know the great album makers.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They were great pop songwriters too.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's like most of their early stuff, it's songs about drugs and girls. It's like it's very boy band type stuff.
It's almost all about girls to start with. Like originally, the early stuff is. Yeah.
It's supposed to be. You're a young boy.
Yeah, and exactly. It's not inappropriate at that point. Like that's what you're interested in. Baby, you can drive my car, and baby, like there's some definitely metaphors there too. But like it starts to get a little more complex in the mid '60s. But yeah, this is Imagine is one of those statements of,
and
I'm an adult and there's a world happening like outside of my personal heart and personal soul, right?
And I think too, and we keep going back to this. It's so simply put together and short and brief, but poignant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not long.
No.
It's not complicated.
It's easy to play.
You know, it's easy to sing. It's easy to play. The message is strong. What do we keep going back to? Man, there are stars and there are people with voices.